Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast. My name is Scott. I'll be your host today. Got a great show for you guys today. I got another great guest. Going to bring her on in just a minute. It's been a while since we had our last guest. I think the last one was Christina Us. I think that was 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it'd be good to have you guys. You guys probably just getting sick of hearing me and doing my daily podcast, droning on about Lake Placid and all that stuff. Lake Placid in 19 days from today. My redemption race from the DNF of last year. Well, we talk about that pretty much every day, so we'll kind of leave that on the back burner for today. As always, you can find this in the back episodes of our podcast at our website, ordinarymarathoner.com. Check that out if you get a chance. You can also find them at the aggregators, places like Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, of course. You like the show, hit that subscribe button. Never miss a new episode that way. You can also catch us now on YouTube, our Ordinary Marathoner channel. We are at 89 subscribers. Hit that subscriber button for us. Help us get to 100. I think we get to 100, we can finally get our own sort of designated webpage on YouTube. So like YouTube.com/Ordinary Marathoner. That'd be great. That'd be great. Just need 11 more subscribers. Help a brother out, man. Come on. I'll tell you, the other day we mentioned. I mentioned on our webpage. I'm sorry, not on the webpage. On the discussion group over on Facebook called Ordinary Marathoners. You guys can add yourself to that. It's a free group to join. We announced the beginning development stages of Team Ordinary, which is going to be like I think over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, we've just sort of developed a nice cohesive team over there anyway. So it's time to slap that name right on your chest. We'll get some t-shirts, get some hats together. We'll monitor all your races, probably get some bio pages done on the new website that I'm developing right now called Team Ordinary. We're working on all that stuff behind the scenes. That's going to be rolling out in the next few days. Ordinary Marathon 2020 is still open for registration. Head on over there, get yourself registered. We'll be doing another giveaway. I talked to Brian Burke, who always gives away so many of his books during our virtual race, our charity race. Does such a great job. He's a great author. But he also makes these wooden medal stands, and he's working on one for us to give away probably August, September kind of area. It'll be a special Ordinary Marathoner medal rack. And I don't know, I've seen some of his work before. It's woodwork. It's great. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can produce for us. I know he's going to do a great job. And I know you guys are some very lucky person will be winning that medal rack. He makes it by hand. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Anyway, with that being said, enough about me. Let's bring in our guest today. She is a professional triathlete. I'm going to bring her in right away. I don't have much of an intro on her because I really don't know your background, but that's why we're talking. We're gonna learn a lot today. Sheila Treleaven, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you. You're the first professional anything, I think, I've had on the podcast. So it's a real treat to have you. And so let me just tell you guys a little bit about how I ran into Sheila. Joe Bartlett and I. Joe is my friend who you met on the morning of the race.
I did, yeah.
So we were like putting our wetsuits on, and we're all nervous, getting ready for the swim. And you talk to people when you're at the start line of these things, and you find other athletes, and everyone's kind of a little nervous. So it's kind of like a camaraderie thing. And so we met you, and we just started talking. And you must have had a jacket on. You took it off, and there was the number 27 on your arm, which to us was like. Now we're like elbowing each other, like she's a pro. She's a pro. That nice lady we were just talking to, she's a pro. And and I'm like, I remember saying to you, like, don't they have better places for you to go hang out?
No.
And hang out outside with me and Joe, us slowpokes out there. But I remember. So that's how we ran into each other. And we had just kind of like that pre-morning jitters conversation before the race. And then I actually saw you at the pizza place later that evening.
You did. Did you see us leave too?
You just went in and out, right? I figured you ordered pizza and then left, but maybe not.
No, we didn't order pizza. So what happened is we sat at the table forever. The
service
place.
was bad. It was slow.
And the service was terrible. These other people already left at the table beside us because they hadn't been served. My friend and I ordered drinks. I ordered a ginger ale, and I think she got a beer. And we were waiting and nothing happened. And then a few of our other friends came and joined us that did the race and the kids. And they ordered beers and they got their drinks.
Before you.
Or no, we just got one drink, actually.
Yeah.
The one. And we still hadn't gotten anything. And we were like, hi, we ordered drinks. Are there any drinks coming for us? And she's like, oh, did you get a root beer? We're like, no,
we'll see you later.
Didn't. We're like, I think we're done. We're out of here. She goes, well, I already put in the order. I don't think you did because you didn't know that we even ordered. So we were just like, yeah, we're just gonna leave.
In fairness, it was really crowded, and that place, the service was horrible. And I felt bad because I feel like there were very few servers, and a lot of people were coming because I think it was overflow. All the other restaurants were packed. You couldn't get in. Yeah. And I get it, I guess, because there's how many people in that race? 3,000, 4,000?
There was. And we were trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, the best that we could. Like, we waited a really long time. But she also appeared to be a little bit, I don't know if she might have smoked some weed or something before she came on shift.
There was a sense of a little absent-mindedness, I would say. That might be due to other circumstances, but
yeah, we were jealous. We saw your pizzas, and we didn't even get it.
You should have told us. We'd gave you a slice. I'd say we ordered pitchers of beer, and we were right next to the bar, so we were kind of lucky in that we were just able to refill them whenever we needed, and it was needed often too. Let's take a step back. We're going to sit here and talk about beer and pizza, as much as that's wonderful in its own right.
Delicious.
So I remember our conversation. One of the things that you said was that you really just started in triathlon a few years ago, and that you were kind of pretty good at it, and your coach said, "Hey, you should go pro."
Yeah.
So and that's kind of, so when you're sitting there on race morning, like, I'm just listening to that story and I'm thinking, geez, she's fast, she's good, my God. Yeah. And then now that I have you, like, and we don't have the impending race right in front of us, and we don't have to like throw our gear into the dump trucks or whatever. Now maybe we can tell a longer, more protected story over because it sounds really interesting. Here's number 27 sitting in front of our face. She's down to earth person. She's hanging with the slowpokes, and how did this happen?
Well, it's kind of a little bit of a long story. So I grew up as a swimmer. I was a competitive swimmer growing up. I actually went to school in the States on a scholarship to Texas Christian University.
Wow.
Came back.
The Horned Frogs, right?
The Horned Frogs. Yeah, that's right. And, did the usual. Then I ended up having a kid, and then more kids. And then I did nothing for like 13 years, right? You go to work,
I know
exercise.
The feeling, sure.
Yeah. Was walking on the treadmill in my basement, watching Days of Our Lives that I had pre-recorded from the day before. So that was, that's pretty much all I did.
But that, I tell you, someone told me that too. I heard of a guy who the only time he'd was allowed to play video games, he had to walk on the treadmill. So, I mean, that's like, at least you're taking something as unproductive as watching TV, but adding a productive element. So I respect that.
Thank you. Yeah. That's good. Occasionally I would jump into like a local 5K or something, like once a year. You run a month or so. We run a couple times a week, and then you jump in the 5K or 1K with your kids or something. And my brother one day said to me, hey, I've started a master swim club. I want you to swim at provincials championships for my team. I was like, I haven't been in the water except for to bounce babies on my knees for like 13 years. Are you kidding me?
But you don't forget.
No. So I did a couple lane swims. I went to the meet. I had huge anxiety because it was at a pool. We used to swim Canadian nationals and trials and things and stuff like that. And I walked in, and on the deck, I saw, some old people that I used to swim with. But then I also saw old people with walkers, and this lady who is like in her 80s who broke the world record in the 400-meter IM. And I'm like, wow. Okay, this is pretty cool. I think I can do this,
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I did it, had fun with my brother. My sister did it as well. And then I had a hard time training because they live in a different city than I do. So they're about an hour and a half away.
Right.
So I wasn't training with them. I just had to try to find lane swim, which, as you know, with kids, it's like, how do I go to work?
Yeah.
Find lane swim, do all this. I can't get it in. I have to be a peer to pick this person up and do this. And
set the alarm really early.
Yeah, I do now, but I let it drop. And then my husband had said, hey, why don't you try to join a local club or something? So I searched around a couple of teams sort of in the area. And one of them, the coach was someone I used to swim with, is also friends with my brother. So he said, you can swim for your brother's team as long as you pay my fees. I don't really care. So twice a week I would go swim and kind of got in it that way, just swimming. But the coach for the master's team was also a triathlon coach. And he said, hey, kind of out of shape. If you'd like to get in shape, I really think maybe you should come out and maybe ride a bike or come for a run or something. It'll help you a little bit.
Right. Like, so this is what I'm getting here. Now, I'm because you're very, what's the word? It's like you're modest. Canadian national team. You just kind of stumbled over that. Like you just like this. So you're a good swimmer. Masters, you're a good swimmer. There's a strong swimming background. A couple 5Ks in there, and now someone's like, "Oh, why don't you also learn how to ride a bike?" I see where this is going.
Exactly.
Don't let me stop you now.
They took that. So I was a little hesitant because I wanted to go to Masters World Swimming Championships in Montreal and with my brother and sister and have fun there. And I know that running really can hurt your swimming ability.
Okay.
Makes you a little heavy in the legs, takes away your flexibility, things like that. So I had said, well, I'll try riding a bike and maybe I'll come for a couple runs. And he gave me a little bit of a training plan, trying to coax me in. And I never did it. I just kept swimming and telling him I was doing it. Oh, yeah, I know you gave me a plan. Like I feel bad he gave you a plan. So I'll just do the running. Yeah, I did it. Really, I did. And I didn't, but went to Worlds with my sister and brother, family, had fun. And then came back and I said, okay, I'm done that. I'll try a triathlon. I've ridden the bike like a handful of times, ran a couple times, jumped into this triathlon. I didn't really know. I was 40. So that's my first year. I was 40. Didn't know what to expect. I was even asking questions like, well, how do you change from your bathing suit into your bike gear? Like,
that's a legit question.
Yeah. Like, how do you do that?
If you don't know, that's a legit question.
So I went and I did this.
If you didn't get the answer, that would have been very embarrassing.
That would have been bad. No, I did. They actually took me to watch one so I could see it. And then I got the idea you wear the same outfit the whole time. And then I tried this one, and it's called Guelph Lake. I tried it, and I was third in my age group. So I was like, oh, okay, I was third in my age group. And the coach had said, well, now you can train all winter, because this was like the end of August.
Yeah.
You can train all winter, and we'll go do a 70.3 in the May. I think it was Raleigh he wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm not doing that. That's stupid. Why would I want to spend my whole winter doing that? I don't even know if I like this sport. So I said, I got to try another triathlon before I can commit to that. And 3 weeks later, there was a half distance event. Okay. It's called the Barrelman. It's in Niagara Falls.
Yep.
And I said, I signed up for it. And he goes, well, you can't do that. I know you haven't been running. You haven't even ridden the bike, like hardly at all. I'm like, I know, but I think I can try it. If I can finish it, then I know I can do the half Ironman. So I signed up. I had my longest run in that 3 weeks was 12K that I got in, just see if I could do it. Went into the Barrelman, killed myself. I came fourth overall woman.
Yeah.
Just
pretty
did
good.
Over 5 hours.
Wow.
I was like, I actually cried afterwards because I seriously thought I was going to have a heart attack. Like it hurts so bad. They actually had some people walk me to the bathroom and help me get changed. But I said, okay, they gave me prizes. Like they gave a bottle of wine. I got a watch. I won the swim award because I had first out of the water. I'm like, okay, I like this.
You're starting
sport.
right. This is like such a familiar story, right? It's like I finished the race. I thought I was going to die, and then things started to change, and then you signed up for the next one. I bet.
Yeah, and then I signed up for that rally one.
Yeah.
And went and did that, and I had said to my husband, I said, I don't know how long I'm going to do this, but this coach thinks that I can make world championships.
Wow.
I said, I think that's ridiculous, but he thinks I can make it.
Yeah. Well, you came in fourth, and your first one, you came in second, right? You're competing without even really prepping as much as it sounds like, as probably as you do now, but it sounds like it's doable.
Yeah, for him, but for me, like I have a hard time, like I said, and not that
visioning it, right? Conceptualizing.
Yeah, like I like really like running, biking. Okay, the swim I can do that, but the other stuff maybe not so much. So we went to rally, and I had said to my husband, "Can we go to World Championships? We'll do a family trip if I make it." But it probably won't. But maybe.
Right.
And so I went to rally, and I got in and I did well on the swim. I got on the bike and I'm riding, and we get to this one corner somewhere on the course, and I see my husband and the coach and the people cheering, and they said, "Go, Kevin," because Kevin is one of my teammates that was with me. We all had the same outfit, and then I heard them go, "Holy crap! That's Sheila."
Oh, you're beating Kevin.
She's doing something good so far, right? He had gotten a flat, so and I ended up winning my age group at that event.
70.3.
At the 70.3.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Is that one of so that back a few years ago, you could actually qualify for Kona in a 70.3. So did you qualify for Kona during?
I don't know.
Or were you looking to do the half?
I just went the half, yeah.
Okay, so you were looking to qualify for the half World Championships?
Yeah, because at the time, a full Ironman was, to me, still insane.
Okay.
To even
have you done one?
I have. I've done two.
That's on my list of things to talk about, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we did, and I took my ticket to Austria, that was really exciting. So we did that. We went to Austria that year. I was sixth, there, which was
pretty good
fun. For my
That's
age group.
really
I was
good.
Excited. Yeah. And then did I do anything after that year? Just the Barrelman again.
Yes, you had to go back.
It's local. It's literally like I could drive there in the morning and come home afterwards.
That's great. Ironman just opened a race in Connecticut near, like, not too near my house, but near enough where I would need a hotel.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it this year because I think it was pretty close to when our race was.
Yeah, it was.
So I didn't want to double down because I had already signed up for that one. So, but next year I think Connecticut for me, 70.3.
I heard though the roads. So I had a customer that just did for my work, for my job, that just did the 70.3 in Connecticut. And he was saying that like he liked it, but the roads are really brutal. And they actually had some speed limits on some of the roads because they were so bad. And to be really careful. And if you went over the speed limits, they were giving penalties for going too fast on certain roads. So
yeah, you don't have to worry about it. I ride the brakes. This is why I would never be a pro, because I just there's a speed that I go to. It's right around 32, 33 miles an hour, where I just feel like that's good enough for me. I'm a little too old. I
have to pull out my calculator just a second.
Okay. You're doing a kilometers per hour. It's not very fast. It's not. Yeah, so I don't know if you ever done Lake Placid. I figured you might have done. Was that one of your?
No.
Okay, because that's not too far from you, right?
It's not. It was funny. I didn't realize that I couldn't do it this year. So I did the full in Louisville in October.
Right.
And I don't know if you heard about.
Oh
that
yeah,
race.
was it bad weather?
It was freezing.
Oh okay.
Oh my God, it was raining and freezing the whole time.
Did they cut the swim?
they cut the swim because
that sucks for you right there.
Yeah, it went down to 1,300 meters.
Yeah.
And the current was so strong, they said that there was no way any of us would have made it to the buoy against the current.
Wow, yeah.
That the
You would have made it, though.
No.
Really?
Nope, none of us. The kayaks were moving like motorboats. If you missed a buoy, you were not going back. If you missed the swim exit, you were in trouble. Like you were going to have to shimmy across the wall to get back to the...
Oof. Yeah, you were going to make. So let me ask you this. So our race, right, Mont-Tremblant, the day before, I don't know if you went out and got a practice swim, but the water was really, really nasty. And they said the same thing. They said if you went out beyond the peninsula that you would get swept away and you'd never be able to come back. And if you went out on the practice swim too far, that you would get DQ'd for the next day. So we didn't even mess around. But I did swim a little bit in that water, and it was really choppy and difficult for me. And I always wondered, from someone like, so you have a swim background, and obviously strong swimming. Is that something where you're like, ooh, choppiness, I'm gonna kick ass tomorrow because all these other swimmers who suck, they're gonna be, I just was wondering, is that like, what's the frame of mind from someone who's a strong swimmer?
I think there's a difference between being a strong swimmer in the pool and being a strong swimmer in the open water. So I'm a pool swimmer, and there's no waves, there's nothing. And even in terms of open water here where I am, I have Lake Ontario, but it's usually so cold. It's really hard to get in, even with the wetsuit through the summer. It really depends on the current. And the other areas that we can go, it's almost like a pool. Like it's so flat outside, like these little lakes or the canal, the Welland Canal.
Yeah.
So I find when it's wavy like that, I struggle as well. Yeah. I didn't find this Saturday, I found it choppy, but doable. It wasn't as bad as Steelhead 70.3 last summer. Lake Michigan was insane, and there was no wetsuit for anybody.
Yeah.
I'm surprised people.
How'd you wind up doing on that?
It's okay. I was third out of the water for that one, but I swear I was swimming horizontal at points.
Yeah.
Because I was coming up and going, okay, where am I? The waves are here. Like, why am I swimming like this right now? It was scary.
I gotta tell. I think that I thought the day before our race, I thought they were really prepping us for a cancellation of the swim. Everywhere I went, they were just talking about it. Just sort of like, oh, if the kayaks can't hold their position, then that's it. And I think especially after what happened in Wisconsin with 2 accidents in the swim, I think that they were just going to pull the plug really quickly on us. But then we woke up the next day and the water was fine. So I totally took the steam out of your story, which is let's go back because you still haven't told us, like, when did you make the decision to go pro?
Well, my coach kept telling me I was good enough to go to pro, and I was like, well, I have kids. I have 3 kids. I have a full-time job, household to run. I can't train like those girls train. This is not going to happen. I'm not going pro. That's silly. And then we went to Eagleman in 2016, and I placed first in my age group, but 6th overall for women. And I thought, oh yeah, I could do this. I was 6th overall. I could have got a check for $1,000, right? Like, but
it's more than I got.
And then I was like, oh yeah, I could do that. And then, so I thought I'll do it at the end of the year. For the new year, I'll try it because I reached the Canadian standards in terms of percentage to the overall winner's time, things like that I could do.
You could turn pro.
Yeah,
you had that option.
So I had the option. So at the end of the year in September, after the Barrelman, because I do almost every year, it's my Barrelman, I decided the process is probably going to take a long time. I know nothing about this, so I'll start the process now. And I applied, and next thing you know, they're like, oh yeah, you got your pro card, but it's only good to December.
So you had for like 4 months?
I had September, October, November, December. Yeah, just a couple months, like 3 months by the time I got it. So I was like, oh my God. And then it's no good and you have to requalify for next year. And they actually had changed the qualifications for the following year. So if you're qualifying brand new, like starting over again, they had put an age limit in. So, which was under 40, which didn't work if you're 42, right? So that doesn't really help. So I was like, oh, I have to reach that. I have to do a pro race this year, and I have to get within like 6% of the winning time to be able to be automatically renewed and not have to reapply
and requalify.
So, and the next time they do it, they changed it so that you're good for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So I said, well, that's perfect. Yeah. I'll do my 3 years and then I'll be done. So I went to Miami, did my first pro race. I went by myself. So my first race by myself, flew out there. I found a bike shop before I went and made friends with the bike shop.
Yeah.
They put my bike together and then they were cool. They drove me around. They helped me out. They showed me where.
Good. That's good.
Yeah. And then,
people in the sport are really nice. Like you always find the greatest people.
They are. They're really lovely. And then I got in the water. So I'm afraid of lake monsters and weird creatures.
Sharks and...
Yeah, all that stuff. So I don't like being in the water by myself. There has to be other people in there with me because then, they'll get eaten.
Right. You don't have to be faster than the shark. You just have to be faster than the nearest person.
Faster than them. Exactly.
And you got
I
that.
I got to get away. Yeah. So anyway, it was dark when we got up to the dock to jump, and we started to get to warm up. We get about 5 minutes to warm up.
Now, is that an ocean swim or is that a lake swim?
It's an ocean swim. It's in the Miami harbor where all the the cruise ships are docked.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly like it's beautiful.
You got to get like a tetanus shot before you get in there.
Pretty much. Yeah. I come out a little slick. But they had like, so it's dark and you had to jump off a dock to get in the water, and it's like black. And all the girls are sitting there. So who's going to go first? Do you want to go in? I don't know. I'm like, I'm not going. You go first. So we all got in, and the cannon went off at our start, and we started swimming, and I was getting hammered. Like I've never been. It's like it was so aggressive. I'm so used to just popping out of the age group.
Oh, so this is your first pro race.
My first pro race, and I was just getting killed. As a pool swimmer, I'm not used to being touched, having people on your feet, having elbows come down on your head.
Oh, I had that.
I ended up like with a little bit of a black eye by the end of that swim. Yeah. I was like, I was swimming going, I am in way over my head. Why am I here? Like, this is crazy. And I'm like, no, you got to finish.
You had to get 6%. Yeah.
Yeah. And you flew out here and you're in Miami. You have to finish this race. So I ended up finishing and doing the race and being able to requalify for the following year. So I have my pro card for 3 years. This will be my last year. I'm 40. I'll be 45 in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So,
but you've had a good run.
I've had a lot of fun. Yeah, it's been really good. So the first 2 years were pretty good. I was 9th at Louisville last year, which was my best finish. So I was really happy with that. And
with no swim, mind you. You're the swimmer and no swim. And,
I just had to wait everybody out. They all got hypothermia. See, and then I can move my way up.
The Canadian, that's the Canadian in you. You're able to battle that cold. So let me ask you this. So as obviously someone who's never going to go pro, what does it mean? Like when you actually turn pro, what is, other than being able to start in your own little pro group and getting really cool numbers like 27.
And your own porta potty, which is the best.
That is, see, you just answered my question. That is got to be the main perk. So what's the difference, other than those things of being a pro versus when you were like, obviously it seems like you kind of were a little reluctant to turn pro. But what were the benefits that you were like, oh, maybe I should try this. I mean, obviously maybe it's just the fear of if I don't do it, then I'll always wonder what if I did it. because I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm sensing a vibe here, but for us people that don't know, what are the advantages of being a pro?
Well, I guess
other than the massive paychecks too that you get.
Well, I guess it depends what kind of pro you are. So if you're a pro like Daniela Riff or Cody Beals or them, they are getting more, they get huge sponsorships and they win prize money and things like that. But for me, as someone that went pro, I went partially because I have a hard time saying no and my coach was pushing. And so I said, okay. And I thought, well, then I can show my kids that just because you're in your 40s doesn't mean you're an old person, because that's how they look at you.
That's awesome.
And that you can do things and go after stuff, even if, you've had kids and maybe you've given up that time there for them. You still have a life after that, and that's okay. Like, it's good to be able to do that kind of stuff. But and the perks too for me is, honestly, I as a pro, I pay my pro fee at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And then I have flexibility to jump into any race and jump out of any race if I get injured or something comes up with the kids, like a graduation or whatever. So that for me, that's a huge advantage. I don't have to book a year in advance and hope that I'm not injured by the time that year shows up and lose $1,000, or I guess with the dollar exchange, like $1,500 on a race fee. For me, that's the big advantage. And I have some cool sponsors too, but
that's awesome. That's, I think about it sometimes and I'm like, geez, if anything, I'm doing Lake Placid in 3 weeks and I'm like, if anything were to happen to me now, I'm out. I'm out the hotel, I'm out I'm out everything. So it's like that's a definite, benefit, I guess. Although I think that Lake Placid, and I guess a lot of these races are like 1 year, like I think last year they had the women pros there and this year they don't. So it's probably not an option. I mean, do they like give you like a list of the ones that you can do and then other ones are like, they're not? Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a list of races you can do. I can go into races that are non-pro races. So for example, Ohio, if I wanted to do Ohio, I could go do it. But I would pay the race entry fee, and I wouldn't count in terms of an age group or whatever. Like if I won the overall race, they'd say, yay, Sheila won the overall race, but I wouldn't count as any points or anything like that. But Lake Placid, I wanted to do because going back to the Louisville, one of my training partners, it was his first Ironman, and he got hypothermia and had to drop out about 40K into the bike, and was just devastated. So I had said to him, whatever Ironman you want to do this year, I'll go do it with you. And he said, well, let's do Placid. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I looked it up and went, oh, only the guys can go. So I sent a message in. I said, hey, I know there's only guys, but if I pay for the race, can I enter just as exhibition or whatever? And they said, no, because there's already pros in the race. They won't allow women pros in the race. But if there weren't any pros at all,
then you would have been able to do it.
Then I would have been okay.
That kind of sucks. There you go. It's kind of like, do they pay for travel or hotels or anything for you or no?
No. All the pros need to take care of those things themselves. But one of the really nice things that they will do is if you can send a message and say, hey, is there anybody open to a homestay? So they may ask the volunteers that are helping or people in the area. They'll be open to having some of the pros come in and live at their house for those few days while they're there, which can save some money.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So overall, I mean, is it something that now I remember talking to you at the start line and you were saying that the one thing that you didn't like was that in prior races, you were sort of able to kind of target your competition and kind of pick them off one by one. Yeah. And now you feel that since you get to start all the way in the front, and that you're a good swimmer, that you come out of the water and everyone's now picking you off.
Picking me off.
So you're like kind of the one that everyone's gunning for. Is that like, I don't know, that was kind of an interesting take. do you ever like look at that decision and say, I should have just stayed in the age groupers. This was silly. Do you ever think of it that way? Or
I do. Yeah, I do sometimes, right? Because then I think, had I stayed in the age groupers, I could have been to Kona by now. I could have gone to World Championships again. I would have got my trophies. And, a little bit of selfish that I do like to win. I like to win. And I know that in the pro category that I never will. I may come out of the water first or third or something like that. But as soon as I get on the bike, I'm done.
I hear you.
The way it goes.
So, is this something, I'm going a little bit out of order with what I was going to ask you, but okay. Is this something, that are you still going to try to maybe qualify for Kona once you're kind of done with being a pro and, you can go back to age group? Are you going to then continue with the sport, or are you going to kind of like just back away from it? No,
I love the sport. Actually, it's now that I'm in it and I've done it, I really enjoy it. I actually find it it keeps me very sane.
Yeah.
It's
gets you a nice routine and it's productive. Yeah. And I tell you, there's probably a whole lot of 45 to 50-year-old women right now that are like, oh, damn, there's someone else we got to beat.
That's true. It's funny. I did qualify for Kona in 2016. As an age grouper from Mont-Tremblant full.
Oh, nice. I walked up that last hill, by the way. I'm so embarrassed by that. That hill sucks.
No, it's okay. I walked in Louisville. I had hypothermia during that race, and I don't know how I made it. Honestly, I didn't eat. I hardly got any nutrition in on the bike.
Yeah.
Crashed on the bike, got back on.
Oh. That's my nightmare.
I couldn't use my hands. I couldn't grab a bottle. My front bottle was empty.
From your crash?
Couldn't get food.
Or from the hypothermia?
From the hypothermia. The crash was because I couldn't move my hands. I couldn't steer the bike, right? I just was having a hard time going around at like 180.
Yeah. Turn. Oh, so at least you're going slow then? Or
at least it's going slow.
You guys probably picked to the 180s at like 20 miles an hour. I'm like, I have to go like to the outside edge and kind of like go as slow as possible.
Yeah, the bike. I can run and I can swim, but the bike is like a torture for me. And I got on the run and I was doing okay. And I got to 27K and all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, I didn't eat. And I must have walked close to the last 10K of that race. Yeah.
All right. Well, no shame in that.
So there's no shame in that at all.
Who was that? There's a guy in Kona that walked like the entire marathon the year after he won it. And I can't remember his name.
Oh,
Jan Frodeno.
Yeah, it was Jan Frodeno. Yeah,
we walked the whole marathon.
You need to finish.
Yeah, that was awesome that he did that.
Yeah,
I think it would have been easier for him to bail, and he walked the entire marathon. It's cool that he did that. How did you like? So in terms of all the Ironman races or triathlons that you did, how would you rank them in terms of? It sounds like I almost feel like you've gotten like a pretty bad shake here. You got like Louisville and Miami. You couldn't see the water, and you couldn't like.
Miami's okay.
I mean, we had a pretty decent race, I guess. It looked like the water was gonna be cold and everything, but it turned out pretty nice.
It was beautiful.
It turned out to be a really nice day. What would you say out of all the races you've done in the last 5 years? What are the ones that you thought were the best experiences for you?
I think Tremblant is fantastic.
Yeah.
They really do. When the athletes are there, they treat you very well.
Right. I think we talked about that before the show, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to talk too poorly about the French people but now I am.
But they do. They put on an amazing experience.
Yeah.
I think they all had some really good things that I like, because I haven't done a ton. I would say I've done tons and tons, but the ones I've gone to are really good. I really enjoyed Steelhead last year that I went. So I think I'm going to go again next year, because it was a great course, beautiful place. You take your family. It's like just a really cool experience. Ironman in Zalmzee in Austria, the half Ironman there, I was phenomenal. Beautiful, tough. The bike was really hard, but beautiful setting again, and great place to stay a little longer and do a family vacation.
Nice. Nice.
So I don't know. They have all got their pros in terms of going. Like for me, it's just an opportunity to travel and see some different places.
That's not a bad idea. I think a lot of people in our sport do that. They just use it as an excuse to go see new places, which is great.
Yeah. And I mean, Louisville, the course was really great.
Yeah.
The volunteers and the people were lovely. But I think unless they move it back to August or September,
the weather was
I'm
bad,
probably going to skip it because the weather was too much for me.
When was that?
Yeah.
Is it in November, October, November?
It's October. And, you go down there from up here and it's cold and you go, oh yeah, Louisville, average temperature, 18 degrees Celsius. Awesome. It's going to be warm. It's lovely. You get down there, it's 5 degrees Celsius and raining, huh? And you're riding your bike and now it's under 5 degrees because you're based on the wind and everything. And I was like, I can't function. So
man, that's tough. Yeah. That's tough. I did Maryland. It was October 8th. And then I met someone who was doing Louisville the following week, which I wonder if that was 2 years ago though. So that probably, was that the year you did it?
Weather was just as bad.
Yeah.
I heard.
Oh, okay. I always wondered if because that guy actually, he barely finished Maryland and then he was going to do the full in Louisville the next week. And I'm like, wow, good for him, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. He was a little nuts, I think.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Maryland, Eagleman's one of my favorite courses.
Yes. So I think Eagleman now is the 70.3, right?
Yeah.
So so we went down. So I did Ironman Lake Placid 2 years ago, the full, and then I did. Then my friends were going to Maryland the same year, and they were like, "Oh, come along." I got married, and then they were like, "Well, we have a room down there, so if you want to join the race, and there were openings in the race, you can crash with us." And I'm like, that was my wedding gift. Which was a pretty cool gift, actually.
That's a great gift.
We went down and did that. And I tell you, you were talking about before, and actually I did want to come back to this a little bit, but the thing I learned in Maryland, was for I think the Choptank River there, the saltwater swim was really bad for me. I hated it. And when the pros caught up to us, cause they started first and then we went in and I was towards the back end of us normal people, slow people, I should say, not normal, but, those pros came through and you were talking about elbows and people swimming over you and all that stuff. And that was my first experience with that. So I wanted to come back to that with you a little bit and say, all right, so that was your first race when you were getting all the elbows and the kicking and all that stuff. Now fast forward, you've done a bunch of these.
Yeah.
Is it something that you get used to? Is it something that you train for? Is it something now are you aggressively elbowing people in the head now?
No, I don't actually. I actually learned from Lauren Brandon, who's a super swimmer, amazing pro. And I watched her at one of the races, actually at Eagleman, when I did my first pro race at Eagleman. And she just moves herself to the outside. Yeah. Moves away from it. Mm-hmm. And so I would rather, and this is what I do now. So even if you see any of the pictures from the pro women's start on from Mont-Tremblant, you'll see I'm like totally on the outside. Yeah. I would rather swim an extra 30 meters and come in and towards the buoy and miss that whole thing than swim in that middle of arms and legs.
And so is there any kind of, do you feel like you're missing out on like a draft effect at all? Or
Nope. I think I feel as though I've got less panic.
Yeah, which is better. Offset.
I'm at least swimming and not trying to protect myself or getting arms caught and things like that. Yeah. And I'm not always I don't have people drafting off me right away.
Yeah.
So
right. So no one will be out there to draft off you. That's cool.
Yeah. And then it all comes in together later on, but by that time you've kind of spread out a little bit.
Right. So you got and once you're out there for a while, it seems like the elbowing kind of like slows down because you get used to it and you get used to your lane and your where you're swimming. I don't know. I feel after a while like you kind of just get used to it. But
I guess that's what I'll get next year. So the women often 40 and over get put at the back of the start, right? We start last, the last wave.
Actually, that's not, I mean, you self-seed for the most part. Every race I've gone to has been a self-seed.
Yeah.
But I know that they do it differently in different places. I think they changed it in Mont-Tremblant this time, right? It was I don't know if they did like a mass start before or something, but
they used to do age group starts like in your age group. Yeah.
And the 6 second. So what they did was instead, I forget what they called it, but they had like 6 people line up, and you guys just went, so you didn't even know this, but
yeah.
So they had 6 people go at a time, and there's a little machine that had red light, green light, and then 6 people go in, and every 6. So the only problem with that was by the time I started, you were about 5 miles into the bike.
Oh my God, that takes forever.
It was like, it was, if you started at 7 o'clock, we probably got out at like 7:40. So yeah, you were probably on the bike at least.
So did you bring like extra food and stuff like that? Because that's a long time to be down there.
Well, we didn't know. We didn't know. I mean, we shouldn't even lined up. We should have just kind of slept an extra 45 minutes.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You might as well just stay safe in your room and come down later.
One of the interesting things was a lot of people went for a practice swim. A lot of people went out in the beach there and went for, and it was cold out in the morning. It was like 50 degrees, 45, 50 degrees in the air. So when you went in the water, you came back out. A lot of times, for me, I got to get used to the wetsuit, and even this race, like it takes me like maybe 100 to 200 yards before I'm actually comfortable breathing in that wetsuit. And if I didn't have that experience and know that, I would freak out because it's really like constricting and bad for me. But if I go in and do a practice swim, then I kind of work that out in the beginning. So I like to go for a practice swim. But we were talking to some people beforehand, and they were like, "We are freezing. Like we went in the water, we are freezing," and they stood for 40 minutes soaking wet before the race, and I think that's probably more detrimental to your start than helpful at that point. So
yeah, no, it would be. So just I don't know if you do this before you get in the water. Just
I need
help
pointers.
Panic.
I need them.
But if you take the water in your hands and you just hold it to your face a couple of times, it helps your body like know that you're going to get into some cold water. So it's already prepared versus diving in and going whoo. And then you can't breathe and everything constricts. It's just a small trick, and it doesn't seem like, why am I doing this? But it works really well.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I'll try anything. But, I think after like my swim the day before, I kind of felt that way. And I knew it's really strange because I put my head in the water and I can't even get a full breath until my arm comes up to breathe. So I have to interrupt my swim stroke. And then it works itself through. And then, by 200 yards, I'm just swimming normally, and I'm like, how the hell did that ever happen? Like, I feel fine, at 200 yards. So, I actually swam pretty well for me. But what
was your time again?
40 minutes 30 seconds, which is really good for me.
That's pretty good. Yeah,
that's really good for me. Although when you get into the transition and you look, I'm like, oh, I did 40 minutes, and I look around and like 80% of the bikes are already gone. And I'm like, you know what it is? I lined myself up in like the 48 to 52 minute section, which was way beyond where I can actually swim. So I had to pass a lot of people. And I think a lot of people also self-seed higher than they should.
They do.
Which is, whatever is what it is, I guess. But, so that's at least how I explained it to myself when I got in transition. I looked around, I'm like, wow, it's like a deserted town here. All the bikes are gone. But so let me ask you this before we get going. We touched on this briefly, but so what is the future for Sheila Treleaven? Like we kind of touched on it for going to age group and stuff like that. I mean, what do you have on tap for this year?
So I have, I'm thinking about jumping into an Olympic distance in Toronto, probably in 2 weeks. It's kind of one I haven't done before, but it looks really interesting because you get to ride your bike along the Don Valley Parkway, which is like a really busy highway that is usually packed bumper to bumper with car, like Los Angeles type traffic. So that I might do that. And then I'm doing the Iron Girl Canada, which is in my hometown here in Grimsby. And I'm doing that August 11th. My older daughter is supposed to do it with me, but I don't know. We'll see if she does or not. She's 19.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so we're doing that, and that's a sprint. And then I'm doing the full in Tremblant.
Yeah. I have a friend of mine. Yeah, I know a couple people doing it. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. So that was that your warm up then a couple weeks ago?
It was more of a wake up. Let's put it that way.
That's what I meant. You see, I remember when I think I told people that I met you when I did the rundown for the recap, of my race, and like you're like the most down to earth. There's like no ego here.
Thanks. I know where I sit, right? Like I know that I can do a pretty good swim. I know my bike. I just don't. Honestly, I just don't get enough time.
Yeah. Well, you're busy. Right? I mean, geez, you need hours and hours. Are you on Zwift?
I do have Zwift. Yeah, I'm on Zwift, but sometimes, right? So like you said, like you have to get up really early in the morning.
Yeah.
And I used to try to get up. I would be up before 4:00 and I was dying. And so now I refuse to get out of bed before 4:01. Refuse. And I try to get as much as I can in by 7, between 4 and 7, whatever that may be. And then going to the Y to swim or wherever. And then you got to get the kids ready for school. And then you got to get yourself ready to go to work.
Yeah.
And then you come home and the kids got basketball or swimming. So then I've worked it out. So when my daughter goes swimming at night, a couple times a week, I'm allowed to swim with her group. So that's where I get to swim.
We do that too. My daughter Ellie, who's 7 months old, we bring her to swim on Mondays, and I'll go a half an hour early and I'll swim in the lane, and then I'll swim during her class and whatever. But yeah, you got to figure it out. There's just, I'm doing a bike after this.
oh my God. Oh my God. It's so late. Yeah.
I do that too. Yeah. I do the nights. I think I do nights more than I do mornings. Okay. I don't know. I just kind of prefer it, but sometimes I do the mornings. I feel like sometimes I wake up and it's like, I can't move my legs. I don't know, but, on race day, it's not like you can tell them to hold up, wait, I need to hit snooze a few more times.
Exactly. Where I have a lot of trouble at nighttime. So if I don't do it during my kids' workout, cause I'm already there, it won't ever get done.
Yeah. So, you have a blog, and I wanted to mention this before, cause I didn't really, honestly, it's just for the exact reasons we were just talking about. I didn't really delve into it too much. But I figured I'd mention it here just to give you sort of an opportunity to kind of,
for sure.
If you want to, if you wanted to mention, if you want to plug it, if you want to tell us where it is and what it's about.
Yeah. It's Sheila Treleaven at blogspot.ca. I'm actually was a bad blogger this last 2 years. So I've had a lot of personal stuff going on at home. In regards to, I talked to you beforehand about my daughter has these weird little tumors. They're non-cancerous, but they're still there. We're trying to figure out why she gets them. Sometimes when you do a lot of sport and things, you have some things to work out with your husband at home as well. Just some stuff. So I've been kind of quiet on the blog, but I'm hoping to. I wrote one last month, and I'm starting to write one again for this month. So I'm working on it again. So it started out as a blog where I just kind of was writing about, hey, this is what my life is. You still can train. You can still do stuff with your kids and with your job.
Yeah.
You may not win. You may not be on the podium, but you still get that opportunity to do the things you love to do and show your kids that, you know what, you can still do, like you can do things whether you're a mom and you work full time. You still have time to do these other things.
Yeah. And, I think that's an especially good lesson. I think a lot of people who listen to my podcast, probably, I mean, the thing I like about that, sort of you saying that, is that you're competing at the highest levels, and you're not making excuses, for missing time or not being able to train enough. And there are people that, that just want to get out and do that first 5K, or they just want to start moving around and lose that first 10 pounds. So for you to be able to, get up at 4 a.m. and put 3 hours on the bike before you start making breakfast and sending your kids off to school, and to be, a pro, an Ironman pro, it's impressive. And I think, it's a good lesson, I think most people can make time if they really want to. It's just a matter of carving it out in their own personal schedules and figuring out how to fit it in. And you don't have to work out 3 hours a day in order to finish that 5K, or to lose start losing weight or start getting more fit. And I think it's a good lesson. And I wish you well with that blog.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
Awesome.
And I'm also doing, I've also started hosting a podcast called Humans of Triathlon. I don't know if
I've heard of that. That's
heard
you?
That?
I think I have.
Yeah. So maybe you could come on too. I just started co-hosting. So
really?
If you want, you're welcome.
I feel like I've heard of that. You know what? I don't know. Who's your co-host?
His name is the leader of the group is Swapnil Chauhan, and then we have Charles Hunk as well. So we're all kind of sort of regular people.
Awesome. I definitely have heard that. I think maybe one of my listeners listens, and so I've seen it come by. So that's really cool.
And we have Instagram too. So Humans of Triathlon, if you want to see, every day a new person is featured where they send in their story and talk about how they got into triathlon. So it's just everyday people like.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Right? There we go.
Yeah. So
I tell you, I'd love to be a guest. If you need someone, let me know. Awesome.
I do. Yeah.
See how I invite you on my show so that you can invite me on your show. That was my whole. That was the
whole thing.
My whole motivation behind the whole thing.
Well, I'll send you a
score.
link. You can send in your story, and then we'll get you on.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thanks so much for spending so much time with us tonight. I know it's obviously busy for all the reasons we discussed, but I really appreciate you coming on. It's super nice, super great to meet you at Mont-Tremblant, and looking forward to kind of following you and your career and this last year, and we'll be rooting for you.
Oh yeah, and I'll get to I'll be there at Placid cheering you on.
Nice. Well, I hope you're up till midnight.
I'm going with my friends. So
awesome. Sounds good. Definitely will. Thank you so much, Sheila Treleaven, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again for coming on the show. We'll be, I haven't had many guests on the show the last few weeks. I think we're going to have Ben Hinton come on. He's running his half marathon the next few days. I see where he is. He was trying to qualify for the Olympic team. So, we'll see where he is with that venture and if he's expecting to get close to it or how he's going to reach his goal in the next few weeks. And with that, I think we're going to sign off for today. And remember, every day is an ordinary day. It takes you to make it extraordinary. So get after it, guys.
Remember to like our video and subscribe to our channel.